There we go. I want Saturn to be like prominent, girl. Let's see. Nope. This way? No. Mm-mm. It's just is what it is. And I'm like, let's see. Are we doing all this? We doing all this. Hi, everybody. Hello. So I'm not hungry, but I want to eat. I wanna eat. So I'm doing a water fast. Today is day 2. It's going pretty well. Besides the phantom tastes, like, oh my gosh, I randomly taste some Indian dessert. I randomly taste like an enchilada. And I don't even like enchiladas, really. So at least I'm glad it's not food that I'm like obsessed over or that I really like. And then my mom was like, "Do you want to go to the store?" And I was like, "Yes, because I got me a sparkling water, which is my treat. I got 2 of them. I already had the one for today. I'm also going to have one tomorrow. Um, and it's been a very interesting time. So, yesterday, I told y'all about the piece that returned or whatever, and how, like, it's literally made so much sense, and how, hey, D, hey, Eve. Yep, just talking today. How y'all doing? Did I? No, I didn't see you earlier. I feel like I was gonna say something to you, Eve, but I don't remember what it was. So, oh gosh, there we go. Let's. I got this little ring light thing. I could probably turn this off. Nah. Oh, I could do like Scorpio vibes, but I guess I'm in the light today. Um. So the piece that returned. It's interesting. So the night before last, when I was talking about, you were here for that, Eve. What? Speaking of Ragnarok, so I think don't quote me on this. You didn't hear it from me. I don't know anything. Um, but I think the rewriting has like it's about to begin or it has begun. And I say that because on the day I was walking, and it's funny that you mentioned Ragnarok because it kind of reminds me of Ragnarok a little bit, a little bit. Um, so on the day I went on the walk and it was like allow the world to be rewritten. That's when I came across the lady and her 2 dogs, and she wasn't paying attention, and her dogs ran up to me, and then for a moment, like there was a light dog and a dark dog, and like they attacked each other. I was like, that's weird. When I came home, finally, I was supposed to go to the store, and it turned into this whole 3-hour thing. So I'm not doing that with my mom anymore. I'm like, I'm too hungry for this. I don't have the energy to be carrying water and to be out here sweating. Like, I'm in energy conservation mode. Anyway, so I come home, and there are these 2 dogs across the way that never fight ever. And one of them is white and one of them is black. And I step out the car, and then all of a sudden they start going at it. No, like maybe they were playing, right? Maybe they weren't like, because I'm pretty sure they were playing. Um, Kind of rough, but they never do that, and I noticed it, and then it reminded me like the first time I saw that happen is when I got like allow the world to be rewritten, and now I'm like I see that I'm like, is the rewriting starting? Is it happening? I need to watch Ragnarok though. I'm only like 5 minutes into the first episode, so hopefully I can find it. And so a few nights ago, the night before last, when I was talking about how I set my spaces up, and when the first level sort of evolved into the second level, and the person that was like approaching that space, so many things just like click, 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 clicked into place today. Excuse me. And like I was talking to Reem about it, and as I'm like typing what's happening. It's like and that's why I say, like, when I write things, even when I type things, how I receive stuff is completely different. Like when I'm typing, it just clicks, it makes sense. It's like it falls in line. But if I'm speaking, then it doesn't happen. Which is why you wanted to buy a pineapple today. Yeah. Welcome back. Yeah, yeah, the pineapple. I wonder if, like, I saw some coconut water, and I was like, "Is coconut water technically water?" Then I was like, "I don't like coconut water," but right now, I might go for it, but I didn't. Um, I think I came home and there was a pineapple out there. Was that factual? I don't know. So anyway, when I talked about the second space, um, when the first space had shut down and then the second space had come online, there was that one aspect. Yeah, me neither. There was that one aspect, and then there was another aspect, and I think I mentioned it. I don't remember, but the two aspects had kind of sort of fused. Um, where's my train of thought? And so I thought the second aspect was associated with another person, right? That's literally what I told y'all 2 nights ago. That was literally my belief, my thought 2 nights ago. Yesterday, the thing that returned at first, it's like it revealed itself later last night into today to be the aspect that sort of had come. And again, like I thought it was associated with another person. Turns out it wasn't. But the person who I thought it was associated with was very catalytic to me sort of being in the position that I am in now. So, I guess it's not like that it didn't play a part at all, but like, and then I was like, wow. And so today, that's what they say. Clarinda, how you doing? So today, yeah, it was revealed to me that, again, it's not another person. This aspect is the same as the one that I met in the dream, literally occupies the same space. It's not Cryon, but I haven't watched Cryon in a minute. Have I talked about Cryon? Cryon was one of the first things that I came across in my journey. It was Cryon. I came across Cryon first, I believe. And then not too long after that, I connected with somebody else who introduced me to Abraham Hicks. So by the time I started listening to Abraham Hicks, I had some language, but Abraham Hicks was pretty different. Um, I'm doing well. How are you? Um, I don't even remember how I found Cryon. I'm like 100% sure I didn't search for it. I think it just popped up one day. I was like, oh, okay. I'll listen to this. I was like, oh, okay. And again, for me personally, it was partially relevant. Um, then I kind of moved on. I floated on. Um, so that aspect was the same. And then, like, the more I'm typing, the more it's just like clicking. It's all clicking. What? I was going to save up with a friend to go see her, I think last year. I'm drinking water. So I am a good, I'll say 36 hours in. I got 36 more hours to go. I'm on the second day of my water fast. Reem was like, who's going to do it? Is anyone going to do it with me? I was like, I'll do it with you. And I'm glad I did because something's working. Um, and so that aspect that I thought was associated with somebody else wasn't. This aspect, again, it's like all the little pieces fit except for the old one. Um, this is the one that I met in a dream, even though she looked different. And that's probably also why it was so extremely difficult for me to approach who this was. You all, yeah, I saw your comment. Ooh, see, the trick yesterday was naps. I took a nap. That kind of helped. I mean, it was a few hours I didn't have to worry about eating. Um, so that's why it was so difficult for me. So after 72 hours, that's when like the body starts to reset or something like that. I was like, okay. At first, I was like, and I don't know, part of me was just like, sort of intuitively, just like, yeah, I'll do it. And then it's like, however long she does it, then I'll do it. And then she was like, listen to your body. And I was like, okay, so maybe I'll stop after midnight. And then she was like, 72 hours is about scientifically when the body starts to do things that, the body does. Um, and I was like, okay. So tonight, this was before like all of this came out. I was like, oh, so I'm gonna connect to myself tonight. I still haven't really meditated like I wanted to, or connected to myself really, and just like sat with myself because I feel like the space is going to be restructured, or I felt like the space was going to be restructured. And then as I kept like typing, again, everything is just like clicking, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Um, and I still need to connect and see like exactly what's up. Cause so it's like there are two sort of different sides. And again, the reason why it was so difficult for me to ground myself into essentially the space that I'm in now is because the space that I'm in now, it would have been very, 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 very difficult for me to occupy at the time it was all sort of like unfolding. Like this space last year, like this time last year, I wouldn't have been able to occupy this space. Like I wouldn't have been able to. Um, and it's interesting some of I guess the guides that I've had along the way. No, so this is my spiritual space. My spiritual space is mental. Everything I do is mental. Um, and I know Russ one day he was like, "You're a mind witch," and I was like, "What?" And then one day I looked it up. I was like, what is a mind witch? And it was like, you have some people who like they'll do like herbs, crystals, this, that, candles, whatever. I don't know. But I guess for a mind witch, it's all mental. And I was like, yeah, like I guess uh, that's what I am. Because again, everything I do is mental. Like I try to find a frequency or consciousness. So these two levels, at first, I thought like the second one was on top of the first one, but they're actually like parallel. And the old one is an old one. Again, that's the only one. And I talked about how when I did that spirit guided meditation, there was an aspect of myself that was asleep. And that how, like, after I woke it up, it took me on a little journey and then it literally left. And I was like, where are you going? And I could like communicate with that aspect or whatever, but it wasn't present. Like it wouldn't like occupy that space. And then actually I did what was going on at that time? Because there was a point in time when I don't remember. I was in that second space and I had come across that aspect. And first it was me, and then it wasn't me. And then I, again, because I associated this aspect with somebody else, it like took the guise of that person. But I don't remember what she was saying. I feel like it was something relatively profound. I don't know. I'm still like figuring it all out myself. And also just like, trying to get a job, trying to make money, trying to save so I can travel and buy a PlayStation 5 because I still don't have one, but it's fine. My license came in the mail yesterday. I think I mentioned that. Anyway, back to this space. So, this aspect, and it's so interesting because it's like, oh, there's the headache. So the two benefics, like Venus and Jupiter, in my chart they oppose. I have Venus in Aries, Jupiter in Libra. My Jupiter is retrograde, and they're in the 12th and the 6th house. My 12th and 6th house. Now, excuse me, my 12th and 6th houses are what's the word? Intercepted. My 12th and 6th houses are intercepted. I can like just grab my chart and show you real quick. I'll show you my 12th house. And the same, it's like it's mirrored on the 6th house. So essentially, my Venus and Jupiter are in like lockdown. Okay, so you see that? My Mercury in Pisces, my Venus in Aries, and then my Taurus rising. So all of Aries fits in my 12th house. And on the other side, all of Libra fits in my 6th house. And so, like, Libra and Aries don't really cusp anything in my chart. So they're kind of sort of just there. And then again, the one planet I have in Libra is also retrograde. Venus doesn't like being in Aries. For me, it's just like all of these things sort of connecting. I have no clue, D. Um, so that's the part that I'm still figuring out. There was like, I remember at the beginning of last year, and again, it's just like there were so many things that as I was like typing it out, just like connected. So one of the things that like when I was growing up, I had a very short temper. And when I was in the 5th grade, I almost went to juvenile detention, girl. My whole life, spirit had to step in and be like, this is not your path. You need to stop. And I had like an extremely short temper. And I was like really passionate about a lot of stuff. I was extremely extroverted. Um, and in that moment, when my life could have taken a completely different sort of route, I had a moment of clarity in a space that I've never had clarity. Right? That's why I don't like for a long time I didn't like to be angry or upset because anger is something that just builds in me. And it was like I was mad, I was having my tantrum, I was swinging hands, teachers was catching it, principals was catching it. I didn't care. I didn't respect adults who didn't respect me. I still don't respect people who don't respect me. I don't care about titles or anything. Um, I'm better now, obviously. And so I was in the thick of it. And then I just like I got this clarity. Oof. I got this clarity that was just like, is this really what I want to do right now? I was like, no, like this is over. And then I came back to myself. But at that same time, it was like everything that made me like alive. Everything that made me me, most of the things that made me me at that point went away. After that, I was like extremely introverted. I was very dispassionate about stuff. Um, I started playing video games more and just like staying in the house. Um, and I got like really stoic. And also, not too long after that, that's when I decided that like I would just do my best to isolate myself from everybody, even family, because I didn't want to feel like I depended on anyone or that I needed anyone. I was literally like, I'd rather starve and die on the street than feel like I need somebody. Um, and so I had always sort of associated passion or extroversion or like being very interested in things, just being like having more of a zest for life. I had always associated that with the anger that I couldn't control. And so when I started to like, when my Venus, because I associate that a little bit with my Venus in Aries and how like it's in the 12th house on deep isolation. And then I think what was the moon in Venus, or was the moon in Aries, or Venus was in Aries, like 2019, no, 2020, early 2020. It was like January, and my Venus was coming back online, and I was like, I'm afraid because I don't want to get mad, I don't want to get upset, I don't want to get angry because I can't control that. Um, oh wow, I know. So there was one time where um I got in an argument with my mom. I was on campus and I had asked her to help me move out of my school year place to my summer place. And I was basically working two jobs. Like that's when I was an RA. I was also working on campus over the summer in a leadership position. So we had training. Also, I had finals and I was on duty that week. So I would like be in training in the morning and then I would be on duty in the evening doing rounds and stuff, trying to catch up on other things, also preparing for training because I had to prepare for training in the leadership position the next day. And I didn't have time to pack. And again, I was like stressed because it was one of the darkest times in my life. I was extremely sort of overwhelmed. I was giving a lot, not putting into myself at all. And I that's the year when I actually decided to go like seek out a professional. I was like, I have to. I've been putting it off for long enough. I know that I'm like depressed. I know that depression is something that I struggle with often, but usually I kind of sort of just get over it. Um, but so yeah, so I got in a fight with my mom and I was like, you know what? I'll figure it out. You can go. Just leave. I'll move my stuff. Cause she was like, "You're not packed," and like, "Why aren't you packed? You said that you were, and or you would be," and blah blah blah. I was like, "I've been so busy. Like, I don't have the capacity right now for like anything." And I'm like working two jobs, and I'm barely getting sleep because I'm trying to pack, and I'm moving so slow. Um, and we didn't talk for months. That happened early May. I don't think I talked to her until October, and I'm like a mama's boy, and so I was living on campus, but I had lost the RA job because my grades were poor because mentally I was just like not there. And so I had to look for a place. And like I hadn't yet had another job. And so I had to figure all of that out. And thankfully I was able to figure it out. Um, but when it came to healing that within me in early 2019, the semester fell apart in 2018. I was literally one semester from graduation. It fell apart. I went to London though, so that was cool. um, what was that was 2017. It was summer 2017 when that happened. So 2018, I had my darkest night. That's when I started meditating. That's when I started, I guess, like this phase of my spiritual journey, really. Because I've always been like connected. I've always had like little conversations or whatever. I'm just like, it's sort of always been the way that I've gone about things. Um, I was religious for a while. Whenever people would ask me, I was like, yeah, like me and Jesus are on a break. I'm like, we're on a break. And honestly, one of the things that I had to learn was to separate like Jesus from Christians. Cause honestly, it was a lot of people in the church that sort of like discolored that for me. And I was like, see, like what I know of like the creator and God and this energy and what I hear and what I see of it are like two completely different things. And I didn't have, because of everything that I was ignoring in my own life, I didn't have the capacity or the space to sort of work that out. So, but we're good now. uh, I'm supposed to be talking about these spaces. Why am I going here? Anyway, when I started my journey, I wasn't working. I still had rent to pay. And so one of the things that I got to do was I had to learn to depend and rely on my family again. Um, and that was one of the first things that was healing as I was working through accepting what that my reality was, that my vision was getting worse and worse, and that like because video games was one of the things that I used to use to cope. Even when I didn't want to play games, I would still play them because I'm not going to sit here and think about everything I don't want to think about. And when I couldn't play games anymore, when I lost my coping mechanism, that's when I was like real shook. Um, and now 2 years later, I can play games. 2 years later, I need to stop playing games and actually be productive. I got games and anime back. I got everything back that I lost. Um, I got my license. I drove for the first time in like literally years the other day. Um, so that's a whole thing in and of itself. But the space. So yeah, I used to have that, but one of the first things on my journey was to heal that. Um, I healed that. I healed the eye thing. Another thing that I wanted to heal after I like connected to family again, and after I got over the eye thing, I was like, oh, so like one of the things for me, like the eyes were connected to a lot of things. One of them was like, I don't want to be in a relationship. Like, I don't want to be with someone that I care about and then like lower their quality of life because of all of the limitations that I have. I was like, if I really love somebody, I wouldn't ask that of them. And then my tourist friend, who's gorgeous and amazing, my big sis, he was like you don't get to make that decision for other people. If other people love you and care about you, then it's their choice and their decision to be there and to stay. And that wasn't something that I was ready to accept when he said it. So then after I was like, oh, the eyes are fine. I'm talking about my journey. I'm talking about spaces. I'm talking about everything. A lot of this is stuff that I've talked about in pieces, I guess, or that I reiterate. I go deeper. I don't know. Anyway, I'll just continue, I guess. I am intoxicated by water. I'm overly hydrated right now and underly fed. I'm kidding. Um, And so after I sorted through the I thing, I was like, oh, so like I guess like relationships can happen now. Like I've always been self-aware enough to know that there were too many things going on in my life that I was not addressing, that if I tried to bring somebody else into it, I would be toxic and nasty. And so I never dated. I never really gave anybody a chance or an opportunity because I was like, there's all this stuff that I'm not dealing with. Like, I don't have the capacity for this. I barely have the capacity for myself. And that runs low quite frequently. So I don't need to bring anybody else into this. Um, and so again, like after I was sort of taking care of that stuff, I was like, oh crap, I'm like terrified of being in a relationship. I actually have relationship anxiety. And I remember telling my mom one day because I was home for a little bit. And I was like, Mom, I think I have relationship anxiety. And she was like, You didn't know that? And I was like, No. Because I always had a reason. I always had an excuse as to why I wouldn't even approach that territory, really. And so one of the things that I wanted to go after that was my relationship anxiety. And I downloaded the dating apps. I even downloaded a hookup app, not to hook up. I was like, if I'm going to prove to the universe that I'm ready, then I'm going to put myself out there. And I had been on the apps before, but as soon as I got a match or a message, I would delete it or I went to sleep, whichever one occurred first. If I got a match, a message, or if it was bedtime, I would delete it. And then like 6 to 8 months later, maybe look at it again. They do know. They always know. Um, and so I was like, I'm not going to delete it this time. I'm actually going to interact with people. And it was actually on the hookup app that I met one of my now really good friends. And it's the one that I didn't expect to meet anybody on. And I literally put in my bio, like, not interested in anything physical, not sending you pictures, not doing this, not doing that. And of course, you still get it. But he was different. He was cool. His name, I actually got messages from two dudes that day. It was a magical Wednesday. We don't gotta go all the way into it, D. That's irrelevant. That's an irrelevant detail. Um, um, not to say that I didn't appreciate the photos that I did receive, but I wasn't sending any either. I'm like, I'm not here for that. I can appreciate this, and I'm done. Uh, so anyway, train of thought. Come on, come on, train of thought. Where'd you go? So it was a very magical Wednesday. It was a magical Wednesday because I was feeling good that day. I was actually going to meet a friend who I was going to meet a friend, and that day I didn't have a job, right? And so I didn't always have a phone. And so I was on Wi-Fi. Excuse me. And anybody who I needed to talk to, I could talk to them through the internet anyway. Um, And so I had this app. We were on Wi-Fi. We were in the Union on campus, and I was looking at deals so we could go eat. And I was going to get a meatball. What do you call them? Not a hoagie, a grinder. Huh? I was going to get a meatball grinder, and then this dude messaged me on Grinder. That's funny. I didn't even catch that synchronicity. I didn't even catch that at the moment. Um, So I pulled up the thing on my phone, but I didn't clip it. So I go to the restaurant and I'm like, I want to use this. And I'm like, I can't clip it. Why can't I clip it? Forgot I wasn't on Wi Fi. That's why I couldn't do it. And she was like, oh, well, like, we actually have this little combo and it's about the same price. I was like, oh, cute, work. And so I ordered my food and like they brought the food to me. Everybody else, like I got mine first. Everybody else in that restaurant had to go up and get their own food. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then while we're eating, and this is a place that I ate in not all the time, but fairly frequently, while we're eating, the dude comes around with free pizza. And he's like, hey, here's some free pizza. Like, we're doing this new flavor if you want to try it. I was like, what? Do y'all do this? And he was like, yeah, on Wednesdays. I was like, I'm pretty sure I've been here on a Wednesday before, and I've never gotten free pizza. Now, it was a flavor of pizza that I didn't like. There were three of us, two slices of pizza. I didn't want it, so I gave it to the other two. And then I go back and I'm chilling with my buddy before I went back to my apartment. And I got a notification on Grinder after I ate the meatball grinder. The meatball grinders were so good, so good. Um, Maybe I shouldn't focus on the meatball grinder right now. And so one of the dudes, he was like tall, tall and cute, and like my age. I was 25, 24 or 25. I was 25. No. How old was I? When was this? This was 2019. It was in March. So I had just turned 25. Yeah, Eve, I am. I'm sipping the water. It ain't hitting my taste buds like actual food will, but it's fine. I got this. I'm not gonna give up. So I was 25 at this point. This dude was like 22 or 23. And I'm like, that's young. Like, being like the one thing that I don't like about being a dude that's into dudes is that boys are typically less mature. It's like my age and even like younger, even a little bit older. It's like I'm not a fan of the immaturity. Like that's one thing I can't do. And so when he was younger, I was like, oh, like when the younger dude reached out, I was like, oh, you're a little young. You're only like, he's only what, two? He's, I think, 3 years younger than me. So he was 22. I was 25. Is he 25 now? Because I'm 28. Anyway, it's irrelevant. He was younger. I was afraid that he would be immature. I wasn't really giving him too much energy. There was this other dude who was really tall and who was like my age or a little bit older. He seemed put together. Yeah, yeah, Clarinda. I it's unfortunate. I'm like, oh gosh. And even sometimes I find myself being a little immature and I kind of roll my eyes at myself. I'm like, it's not that funny. It's not as funny as it is. It's funny, but I'm irritated that I find this amusing. um so the other dude was the one I was actually like more interested in. But the younger dude, his name on the app was the sparkles emoji. And I'll type it. You see me put it like everywhere. Um and at the time the sparkles emoji was a synchronicity because my journey buddy, she uses that all the time. She's always throwing out little sparkles. And so when I saw that, I was like, huh, that's interesting. And he was like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm chilling in the Union. Maybe I was waiting for a bus at that time or something. I was like, what are you doing? He was like, oh, I just got done eating dinner. I think I'm about to do some yoga. I was like, oh, you're interesting. Um, so dude was real interesting, real weird. Not real weird, like good weird. He was different. He was unique. He was interesting. He was unique. He was very mature. And so he's, again, one of my really good friends. He's the one who made me comfortable with being open to the idea of dating. Um, he was also the one over that summer to like told me to trust my intuition and like all kinds of stuff like that. And it's funny because one day we were eating. I remember, and I've talked about this before. I did a year ahead spread in for that year, and I had also done a reading before, back when I had like first gotten into cards and stuff. And and I was like, the lovers, the sun and the moon came out around the lovers, and then there was this whole story. Yeah, I've talked about this dude. There was this whole story of these two people. And so in 2020, I did, it was in May. In 2020, I pulled out the cards. I can show you. Um, I believe I have it. No. I think I did I pull for this year? Is this for this year? No. Yeah, I did. I haven't looked at this in a long time. I kind of didn't want to do it, but I ended up doing it. This is accurate. Anyway, anyway, let me find the picture. That was for 2020. I'll look at that later. Let me find the picture. Let me focus. I thought I saved it. Actually, yeah, here it is. So for May, when I did the whole spread in May, you can see that the sun and the moon are like touching. You see that the corners are like almost like they're touching. So I was like, then May came around. You were afraid to pull for this year. Kind of same. I'm just like, I don't want to do it. But then I was like, I'll do it. And then I was like, I'm gonna delete it. I'm not even gonna whatever. Then I was like, I'll hang on to it just in case. Uh, and so we started talking in April. It was like April 10th. I remember because it was that magical Wednesday. Um, and so at the top of May, we were gonna meet up. And he was doing this thing where he was like putting it off. I was like, no, we're gonna meet up. We're doing it. And then when I was looking at the cards, I was like, this happens in May, so we're gonna do this. And again, like it's an experience that I'm appreciative of because like we talked a lot before we met up, and it was only the space of a few weeks. And so when we met, he gave me a hug. Well, he asked me if he could hug me. And I was like, yeah. Top three huggers. See, my Tori and Big Sis, he gives really good hugs. Sparkles emoji gives really good hugs. There's somebody else who gives good hugs, but those are definitely probably my top two. And like, I got one of the best hugs of my life. I was like, okay, so you're good people. Like, I can trust you. I can be open and vulnerable with you. And so, and then we talked, and dude was so interesting and authentic. And like, he's a Pisces. He's a Pisces. I'm a Pisces. So we did that kind of sort of typical. I don't know how we got there. I feel like it was more him than me. But we kind of sort of did that typical, like, tell me about your deepest traumas type of thing. Not really, but kind of. It went there. And I was just like, wow, there was so much like depth and intellectualism. And like, again, like, I was still like you're I was like, he's younger, I'm like, I've never met up with somebody from an app. Again, like before that I had never really even talked to anybody on an app, and he was also not looking for something physical. So what we were looking for, like, it aligned at that point. um and he was just awesome. He was really, really, really cool. And I was like, I would like to like actually get to know you better. And he was like, oh, that's cute. Didn't really say anything. And then after a few months, he kind of sort of told me that he had just like reconnected with one of his exes, and it didn't end great. But I guess like they had both grown or matured or whatever. One second, hold up. All right, I'm back. That was a minute. Cooking? Who said cooking? Okay, all right. So, um, so yeah, he actually had, and that's one of the things that we talked about. Again, it's like we were like really just like open about a lot of stuff. I feel like mostly him, honestly. I mean, I was too. Not gonna lie. Um, and he had a lot of like toxic exes because of, and he was like, I had toxic exes and I've been toxic in situations. Very self aware, which is one of the things that I liked about him. And like he majored in philosophy, and I was like, "Oh, talk philosophical to me." Yes, like let's go into this. Let's go deep. Like the depth of conversation, the quality of hugs. I was like, this dude is cool. Um, and so anyway, that didn't work out, which was fine. I'm not the type of person that's like, if I can't be your boyfriend, then like we can't be friends. Like I'm not that type of person. Um, because it's like, if I like somebody enough to reach that point, then I would probably rather have them in my life than to not have them in my life. And like I can get over feelings eventually, right? So anyway, he helped me with relationship anxiety, which was cool. He also helped me with more than just that. Because again, like one of the reasons why he was one of the things in my life that was affirming to me to work on not only developing my intuition and learning to discern my intuition from other things, but also to trust it. Um, and so there was like a week. I did a lot of things for like a week. There was a week where like if I got a little nudge to like grab an umbrella or to do this or to do that, I would do it, regardless of if I would need it or not. Right. And maybe it was the strengthening of my intuition before that put me in a position to allow that space to evolve. Maybe. And it like to put me in a space to trust what I was receiving enough to just like, build it. Anyway, what am I talking about? Why did I start talking about that? Because the family thing. Those were like early 2019. I was like, I want to do, like I was chasing towers. The things that I was afraid of the most in my life, I was like, it's time to get over this. It's time to get over that. It's time to face all of these shadows because I don't want to live a life of regret and not doing things anymore. I've done that for 25 years. It was terrible. And my dark night was dark enough. I was like, if I ever reach this point again, I don't know if I'm going to make it out of it. And so, no matter how scary it is, we're facing it because there's no other choice. There's no other option. So back to the spaces. Yeah, it was it was really cool. Which is like for me, my journey hasn't been anything that I've had to do alone. Like literally from the beginning of my journey, I had my journey buddy, and along the way, I've met quite a few other people who have also been there for different things at different points in different ways and in different like sort of for me, it hasn't been something that I've had to do alone. So I've been blessed and fortunate in that way. And because that's been my experience, I've never subscribed to the belief that I have to do it alone. So it probably reinforces it as well. Um, so I had already created the space. I talked about creating the space. I talked about when the space evolved. I talked about spending like consciously, because again, for me, everything is mental. Um, so I would like imagine myself in that space as often as I could. for a week, and whenever I caught myself like not in the space, I would put myself back there, right? So it's not like I would just like sit and lay in my room all day. It's just like in the back of my mind, just like keep myself in that space. One of the things that I also did back when the space was first created, it's like, see, I'm not putting that I'm weird disclaimer on everything I say today, and I almost caught myself saying it. But one of the things that I did when I first made that space, it was sort of like to connect to the elements, and so I visualized myself in a space on Earth, like it was tied to the imagery of Earth, but to the element of water. So it's like at the bottom of an ocean somewhere, to the element of fire, which was in the middle of a volcano, the element of air, which was like on the top of some mountain, and then the element of earth, which was a field. Now, the field that was for the element of earth, it was the same field. So, like when I met my spirit guides in that guided meditation, it was like this little cottage type place and this, like this whole field. And it was that field. And so, from the space of the field, because I was like, oh, like this is in the same vicinity. I was like, well, I can put like this portal within my space. So like I connected my space to those different elemental spaces. And as I would sort of put myself in that space, I would also keep myself in those elemental spaces, like all four at the same time. I just like in my brain, I just like split it up. And that's the thing that I love about like your brain and your imagination. You can imagine these things. You can imagine yourself being in multiple places at once, connecting to the energy, right? And so I was doing my little monk sort of thing in those spaces. And um, I think I also tried to integrate the element of like spirit or ether. I think for that one, that's the one where I was like in the space itself as sort of a connection to all that flows sort of between them. And if I'm being honest, I think I kind of got, oh, maybe not. No, because I remember playing the new God of War and the Bifrost Bridge and how it would connect to different realms um, that I intentionally connected to. That's a good question because I don't know if I necessarily like intentionally connected to a lot of things. Maybe Gaia. I think it would be Gaia. Yeah, it's probably Gaia. Because I did the guided meditation to find my spirit guides, and I found two of them, and that aspect that was asleep, right? So I don't know if that would count. Um, and then when I did the like super consciousness meditation or whatever, listen to the binaural beat for 2 hours, the mantra came to me to connect to the aspect that was there. After I was connected to that aspect and took that little trip, it's when I found the consciousness that was just like floating in the middle of nowhere. And so those all sort of just like happened. But then when it came time to like anchoring myself, because again, I was on YouTube searching whatever. I don't know how I came across this one, but I was searching whatever. And it was like you take that, like that silver cord or that golden cord, wherever, and you take it down to the earth. I was like, well, since I'm already doing this, I might as well try to connect to the consciousness of Gaia. And then I guess that's the first one that I intentionally did. I don't know if I've intentionally connected with any of the archangels. I remember one time like Michael was coming out because I bought the Archangel Power cards, and I noticed that like Michael cards were coming out a lot. And then I was like, I don't like Michael. I don't like Michael because Michael pushes me to do things that I'm not ready to do. I'm like, I don't want to do this. I feel like whenever I'm super resistant to something that I need to do, then it's like he'll start pushing me. And I remember one time I was real low. I was so low that I was like, Michael, I need some help. um, but I'm glad that you had that moment that was so, yeah. I don't know if, besides that, I don't think I've intentionally really connected to anybody. I feel like I get like asked, or like I kind of sort of float that way, maybe. Not really. Just like it was with Michael. It's like if I get a lot of synchronicities towards something, then it's like it kind of sort of either like it makes itself present in whatever way, or it'll come through in my dream space. Yeah, since then I haven't. I'm stubborn. I'm like, I can do everything on my own. I don't need any help. And that was like my relationship with Jesus for a while. It was like whenever I was like overwhelmed, I was like, because so my thing was that like growing up in church and listening to people's testimonies about how they got a new car or whatever, and then like at the same time living in a reality where like that people are starving and where people are in not great situations, when like someone is praying to literally like have food in their belly, I couldn't comprehend a Jesus or a God who would allow those people to suffer, but then would continuously like bless other people. And then also growing up hearing in the church like favoritism isn't fair. So I was like, there's a lot of people out there in the world who have it worse off than me. So I'm not gonna I'll try to do what I can do within myself, and I'll save my prayers unless I really need it. And then I would like do it, right? So, oh snap. Yeah. And that's something that it honestly it's a message that comes to the surface for me quite often. It's like you have this whole team of like spirit guides and like angels, ancestors. Like use them. Ask them for things. They would be more than delighted to help you out. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't know if I need it. I'm figuring this out. Like, don't give me any answers. Don't give me any hints. I'm figuring it out. It's like, oh gosh, okay. But honestly, that approach works for me. Um, I feel like that's partially sort of how I arrived where I arrived. Um, so yeah, that's one of the things that I did with my space when I first made it. Um, it was like more than just like whatever. Like I wanted to put myself in those spaces. What else? I think that's it. That's one of the things that I did that I didn't mention. Also, like when I made that first space on the first level, it was in like the heart space. When it upgraded to that second space, I felt it like the space moved up as well. Um, yeah. Have I connected to anybody intentionally? I feel like honestly, Gaia is the only one that I will like intentionally connect to. I'm like, hey girl, is like everything all right? Like, you need anything energetically from me? Is everything okay? I know some stuff is going down up here. Is there any way that I can help at all in my own little whatever? But besides that, that's interesting. I've never noticed that before. Yeah. I was like, huh. And then like one day, like I talked about, it was what, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, maybe three, I don't know. Sometime recently ish, I had ended a live and then I got like a little like I was like, whoa. Like usually I reach out to like Gaia. I've never felt like reached out to. So that was a first. Now it feels like things are good. And I feel like whenever I do, I guess work with the consciousness of Gaia, it's like there are certain things that I do and certain things that I don't do. Like there are certain things that have to be done by like other people, if that makes any sense, are certain things that need to sort of evolve naturally. So honestly, I feel like most of the time I connect to the energy of Gaia, it's like creating frameworks for like energy to flow into and then feel or whatever. I remember at one point, oh, I remember at one point, it had to be last year when I noticed like things were getting a little dark. I was like, we need some assistance down here. And so what I did was like I tried to connect these like bridges of light from like the sun to Gaia and like solidify that connection. And then there were even like other sort of spaces out, other bridges from other places out in space that I don't have. Like, I don't know where these places are coming from or where they're going to. I don't necessarily concern myself with that. I just intuitively create mentally or assist mentally in whatever space in whatever way I feel at that moment. Um, and again, it's like one of the things that I first found was like that, who, whatever that is, just floating out in the middle of the cosmos somewhere. And then Gaia, and then like one of the, like within myself, I try to like connect them all. And the one that's floating out in the middle of the cosmos somewhere, that's not one that I connect to too often, actually. Yeah, because I'm like, if I do any more than this, like I just feel like I shouldn't do any more than this. Um, and then it's interesting because it's like I feel like sometimes I'll tap in and I'll be like, "Hey, like, is everything all right?" And it'll be like, "Everything is good. Everything is sort of working and functioning harmoniously." But then, like, if I if I like just observe, I'm like, okay. 'Cause I don't know. But then, like, it's not for me to do anything in that space. Like, everything that I can do, whatever I could put in, it's already been put in. Like, there's nothing more for me to do. So I guess, like, that's what that is. I don't know. And it's interesting because I think Cryon was somebody that I came across early in my journey. And I think it was him. He had mentioned that the consciousness of Gaia had actually matured to the point where it's basically like Gaia has had to learn to not be so giving, I guess, that it happens at her detriment. She's learned that sometimes, you got to be a little sterner, you got to be a little stricter, you got to put your foot down. Things have to happen in order for changes to occur and in order to like derail certain trains of destruction and things of that nature, right? because I think she also wants to be here, so she's not too keen on us just like destroying her in every single way imaginable. Um, and after that, I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." And then when I heard that, it sort of rang as true to me, and I think that's one of the first times that I was like, "Well, let me see if I can like find that." And I was like, "Oh wow, I did." I don't know. Does it actually do anything, girl? I would be tempted to say I don't know, but then it's like I see things sort of change and evolve, or I see like these ripples. I'm like, well, maybe it does something. I don't know. But yeah, I've never noticed that. She's the only one that I'm like, yeah. I think typically other ones will kind of sort of find me or come to me. And if I'm being completely honest, like what I intentionally try to connect to the most is myself, is those sort of higher versions of myself. And again, like my introduction to spirituality was through Cryon. And one of the things that Cryon talks about is how, like, as sort of spiritual beings, it's like there's a part of us that exists beyond the veil, that like is us. And then there's a part of us that exists within the vessel, right? And that's like our self and then our higher self. And then there's like collective higher selves or things of that nature, whatever. Like that part, excuse me, was like lost on me. But I was like, oh, there's the self, there's the higher self. So my higher self is the part of me that's connected to the all. Just like we all hold a piece of the creator within us, right? So my higher self is the piece of me that's closer to the all that I hold within me. And so that's what I'll like sort of try to connect to. I feel like more than anything. Or like I'll utilize those spaces. And that's one thing that like again, because of the video that I watched, one of the things that I learned was to like when I created that first sacred space was to sort of like put things in place to isolate it from just like any energy and every energy. But there also reached a certain space when it felt like for me that was too restrictive, and that it would sort of naturally work itself out. But what I did was I put that old aspect. I was like, okay, so you watch this space, and I'll just connect to whatever I need to connect to. Then when it evolved into the second space, the second level to that sacred space, it's just like nothing else exists there, really. So, and then after that space evolved, like it's interesting. So that space was shut down for a minute, right? And then it's like I would try to go in and use the space, but nothing would really stick. And so that's interesting. Um, so what I eventually did was I kind of sort of like I didn't populate that space, but like these other energies kind of sort of popped up, and I guess they're like the space of my team. And again, I don't really tell them, like I don't really use them that much, and so I feel like most of the time I tapped into that space, they were kind of sort of just there, kind of sort of low key, like waiting for me to like tell them what to do or request something from them. Um, And then at like last year at one point, I was like, okay, so my request for all of y'all is to help everybody else because we need it right now. And like if I kind of sort of tap into that space now, it feels empty. Not completely empty, but it's not as populated as it has been. But the third level feels a lot busier. That's interesting. And it's also interesting because like when I discovered that third space, I was like, oh, well, I'm going to shut this down. And it was like, what are you doing? You don't, rule number one about the third space, you don't shut down the third space. I was like, okay. And again, it's not a space that I've like really explored too much. I haven't honestly. I feel like since I've been using my channel more and since I speak more than I like meditate and reflect and write or type, since I don't really like read for myself too often, not that I usually did it. Like I said, I don't really use those spaces anymore. Um, and that's one of the things that, like, after the return yesterday, I feel like it shifts and changes things in these spaces. It feels like the aspect that returned yesterday is associated with that second level. It feels like the old aspect is associated with the first level. And honestly, after I discovered the second level, it was like the first level is pretty much outdated. I don't really need it anymore. So what I did was, in my own internal working, I was like, okay, so if I'm going to work with somebody else, then that's when I use the first space. Cause then like I feel comfortable sort of engaging with other energies from that space, which is why it's like certain things it's like I don't want to know. And I feel like maybe sometimes there is a little bit of like bleed through. Bleed through isn't it? I think I've gotten more sensitive and sometimes there are things that I don't necessarily want to know, question mark, which on the lowest of keys is one of the reasons why I like kind of sort of stop pulling cards for people. Cause I'm like, I like, no, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, no, thank you. No, thank you. It's fine. I enjoy like this level of interaction. This level of interaction I'm cool with. Um, just from like a me space. Uh, but yeah, I think that's everything. And I guess like, hey Mimi, I guess like one of the reasons why I'm feeling guided to talk about this a little more is because when I was coming through my own journey, I again like there were some things that I found that like there was one video that I found, but I feel like a lot of times when I see or hear somebody talk about like mentally sort of doing stuff, it's like to shield or to protect. It's like, you create this bubble around you, this impenetrable aura that people can't get into or certain energies can't get into. And like that's the extent that I've really experienced it. But like it's like I build like this entire space or I go out and I interact with things. And it's just a different way, a different uh, flavor, maybe, of whatever you would call this. Some people are, again, it's like different elements. So, like, if some people are more connected to like nature or crystals or herbs, some people are connected more to sound, some people are connected to light, I guess. Um, it's all like different, right? I'm just more aspected to the mental space, and I'm a very active dreamer. So, that also helps. It like bleeds in. I don't know. So that's what I got, I guess. Um, besides that, I guess I'm excited to experience this aspect of self that'll actually sit with me instead of just leaving. But honestly, it reminded me of the, um, I think it was the last time Miss Remy Healings ran through the Zodiac live when she did it live. And in the Pisces, it was like, she was like, there's this split in your energy and there's this old sort of piece of your energy that's just going to like leave and it's going to make way for this new energy. And again, at that point It's like I knew that like there were certain like old things that I was putting away to make space for like new stuff. But it wasn't until I felt that peace return yesterday, and then I sat in it for a minute today. And again, like I've been playing so many video games lately that it's only because I went to the store with my mom and sat around for literally hours that I was in the car, like not distracted by something else and like kind of sort of exploring it. Um, and it's like for me, like again, like I woke that aspect up and then it immediately, almost immediately left. And then this new one came. So I was like, oh, like that's what that was. That was like, and that like again, it's like it's how I've been sort of feeling it. It's this whole potential of me that I feel like I haven't been in a while. But it's also so extremely outside of everything that I was. There are so many things that I feel like in this space I would be asked to do that in the old space I would have had too much resistance to ever do it. I was like, oh well, you know. And then again, it's like that's why it's like, you know, shout out to most specifically Kali Ma. Shout out to Kali Ma because I feel like if she wouldn't have approached me in that dream in the way she did, also shout out to my friends who helped me like work through that and like interpret that energy. Y'all know who y'all are, especially like big shout out to the one who knows who she is. We had that whole conversation. I'm like, girl, I'm like, she continuously, constantly just like blows my mind. Um, but yeah, like receiving that dream when I received it, receiving allow the world to be rewritten, like that was, and I think I even talked about it when I was at my friend's place. But that was so sort of like pivotal, I guess, in positioning me to be able to stand in the space that I'm standing in to receive what I'm receiving. Um, and I think that was around the Scorpio full moon, if I'm not mistaken, but I don't remember for sure. I just been talking. What's the scoop? Everything is the scoop. I don't know. I'm just on here talking. Excuse me. Glad to hear that you're doing great. I have to go to the restroom again. Columbiana. Oof, I gotta go to the restroom again. Like when I got up, I actually went to the restroom. I so I'm at about a gallon of water a day to a gallon and a half, depending on how hungry I am. Honestly, oh, it's already like 9:09. Oh, it's 9:09. Shout out to that nine frequency. Um, yeah, and like Kali and Ganesha, honestly, two for me in the like the Hindu pantheon that's just like right there. Um, Ganesha actually through the space of the elephant card. Um, oh my gosh, I gotta go to the restroom. I gotta go to the restroom. I'll be back. Sorry. Break part two. All right, I'm back. I was going to the bathroom because that's something that I do a lot now. And I was like, oh, like I like this because I feel like in some way it's like, because our bodies are made up of so much water. I feel like in like doing this water fast, I'm like intaking water and I'm like releasing old water. So it's like a system. I'm flushing my system in some way. I don't know, maybe. Um, what was I talking about? The spaces, no. The new aspect, Kali, Ganesha. Um, like I got my cards early November 2018, and I got the Wild Unknown Oracle and the Wild Unknown Tarot, Animal Spirits, and the Tarot. I was less intimidated by the animals, so I did the animals first. I did a 3 card spread, and in the past, I got the elephant in reverse. And I read the entry, and it mentioned Lord Ganesha. Now, I took like a world history class in high school, and we talked about Hinduism and the caste system, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. I don't think we went any further into it, but somewhere along the way, I picked up some kind of awareness about Kali and Ganesha. And I feel like it was nothing that I ever like intentionally looked up. I don't know how I came across them. That's not too atypical for me, though. There are a lot of things that I kind of sort of just know, or a lot of things that like it's like I watched something or I heard something, and that's why I know this, but I don't remember like where that information came from. Um, yeah, so I guess Ganesha would have been 2018 for me. Um, yes, cause so I came out of my darkest night, and then there was the elephant. I was like, oh, okay. And then Kali was one that I've always had a respect for, and not an admiration, but I think respect is a really good way to put it. Again, don't know where that stemmed from or why, and I don't remember when she started popping up. It was in dreams, but most of the time it would be by name. And I remember when I had that one dream, my grandma was on the bed. There was a baby. She was like watching a baby. I was on the floor, like playing with cards. And Vishnu, Kali, and Fireproof came out. And then when I looked at the cards again, it was Vishnu, Kali, and Waterproof. Krishna and Kali, I don't know a lot about Krishna. I think Krishna and Lakshmi are together, right? Krishna's like associated with abundance or good stuff. I know it's good stuff. Um, but yeah, shout out to Kalima. Yeah, and like she would pop up, and it was like Kali, Kali. She would just like pop up everywhere. First, she would come in a dream, and then I'd see her all over the place in YouTube or whatever, and somehow somebody's video or somebody would mention her. Um, and on my trip, like we pulled up on them campgrounds. I was like, they done got me all the way effed up. I'm paying how much for lodging, and we pull up on a campground? Excuse me? I was shook. I was all the way shook. Like me and nature, we don't mix like that, which is why from my mental space, I can connect to earth. I can connect to nature. I can find the frequencies of nature. I don't have to go outside and do it. Like I do it from the comfort and the safety of my air conditioned, temperature controlled room. And so when we pulled up in real life, I was like, But it was actually cute. I had a good time. And my lady friend, my friend's girlfriend, she was like, "I want you to have a good time." And so we went out and I did not. Well, I have to look again. I had like general Southeast Asian, but that was mostly connected to the Indonesia area. It was like Indonesian, Khmer, Myanmar, a little bit of like Filipino. It was like down there. It wasn't necessarily like contiguous Asia. I think that's the word, right? But I've also like just like pantheons have been something that I've been like interested in for forever. Norse pantheon, not really like again like Ganesha and Kali are the only two that really resonate or hit for me in the Hindu pantheon, and I haven't done like a lot of research on them. But like Greco-Roman, Norse, I have an interest in like Egyptian, but I haven't really dug into that at all. Besides like Hathor, but um, so I walked into the bathroom. I was like, oh my gosh. And this is oops, and this is what I see. I saw this in the well, first I saw this. First I saw this in the bathroom. I saw this little elephant on top of the toilet. I was like, okay, I see the elephant, Lord Ganesha. I'm gonna be all right. I'm not gonna die out here in the woods. I'll be fine. And then I noticed that there was also an elephant painting on the wall. So there's like these two elephants in there. So the whole time I'm like, all right, Clarinda, thanks for stopping in. The whole time I'm like, I got two elephants. I haven't died yet. I feel like nothing has gone outrageously wrong. I got two elephants. I'm good. Um, and it was just comforting to me. Um, and it's interesting because I actually heard about there's this one area in India where a lot of Chinese people settled, and they actually formed an appreciation for Kali as well. And so there was some food that they would offer her. And that area of India is also like known for that food. I was like, what? I didn't even know that. Yeah. And like Asia is a place I've always been drawn to. And I got like some Southeast Asian in me. What was interesting is when I got really into like Norse mythology, because God of War came out. And the new one takes place in Norse mythology because, spoiler alert, everybody in Greece is dead. Kratos killed all of them. So there's no more gods in Greece or Rome. And so now he's in like this icy place. And um, it was Norse mythology. And then this one girl who I'm like, was girl crushing on so hard. I was like, oh my gosh, she is so cool. I want her to be my friend. She had just rented a book from the library that was all about Norse mythology. And I was like, what? And she was like, yeah, you want to borrow it? I was like, yeah. And so I actually read the whole book. Do I remember? Well, I remember some of the things. And then there was a show on Netflix, The Almighty Johnsons, that was more Norse mythology. And then later that year, I get my DNA done. And I have like, what, 4% Scandinavian DNA? I was like, what? Also, I resonated with Lemuria. And then when I got my DNA, I had that like Austronesian. And I was like, Austronesian. I'm gonna just look up Austronesian and Lemuria. And it was like, some of those people can carry DNA from all the way back there. Like there's an association there. I was like, what? So there were some associations that like I actually found in my DNA. What book? What you talking about? But I don't think I have any ties to. I love that energy. Um, Let me see. I can check real quick if I remember my password. Oh gosh, my head is starting to hurt. Ancestry report. Let's see. So 4.9% British Irish. I knew that. 2.3% Scandinavian. Um, so there's the Scandinavian. I'm also like 2% Spanish and Portuguese. Didn't know. Like that's one I didn't expect. Um, oh, got you. Basically, D, but I kind of already knew that. Uh, Native American, 1.4%. So Filipino and Austronesian is 0.5%, Indonesian, Thai, Khmer, and Myanmar 0.2%, and then broadly Chinese and Southeast Asian is 0.2%. So altogether, it's like 0.9%. So I'm almost 1% Asian. Um, and then there's the unassigned bit. And then, of course, I'm like 85.3% Sub Saharan African. And like that, I haven't. It's not that I haven't dug into it. There are a few things that I've come across that have sort of stood out to me, but again, like a lot of this has happened within the past few years, and one of my largest concerns was making sure I was mentally okay enough to get my degree. And it's like I haven't dug into this. I ain't dug into that. I feel like I honestly feel the pull of an ancestor or a group of ancestors on my father's side. I've been feeling it for about at least a year and a half now. Never dug into it. And I don't necessarily know how to like be like, "Hey dad, what's on that side of the family?" I feel like there's an ancestor pulling me as I'm going deeper on my spiritual journey. Do you have any clues who that might be? I could literally just text him that. Like my dad is so open. I don't know. Not that there isn't anything on my mother, on my, on her side, because there is, but I feel like there's something sort of like undiscovered or waiting to be discovered over there. Maybe I'll get to it. I should get to it, but I haven't done a past life regression, but I did do a past life reading on myself. It was a video on Benabel Wynn's channel, and it was like a so many card spread. And in the past, she said it can pull from past lives. I think I did that twice, maybe. Or there was just like two distinct sort of storylines. There was one that felt very like, or a few that felt very like burn the witch, which led to no, that was connected. Um, and again, it's like I did it on myself. I'm like, how much do I trust this? I don't know. But it was a few lifetimes of like burn the witch at the stake types of things, like a shaman being a healer, and it didn't necessarily work out for me. And then there was one where it's like, I'm not going to use my gifts for the good. I'm going to be selfish because people just don't. I'm going to make sure I'm good in this lifetime. And so I was being selfish. And then it's like I met somebody in that lifetime. And then after I met that person in that lifetime, it felt like there were a few that centered around this dynamic of like trying to get things to work lifetime after lifetime. And it never really did until the lifetime where it did work out. And there was a child that was born. There was a child, but it was lost before it was born. and then there was a whole bunch of pain after that. And it was interesting when that came out because from like middle school, I think one of the pains that I feel like I felt very like viscerally and vicariously is like the pain of losing a child. Um, and honestly, I like there was a long time I didn't want to have kids because I didn't want to lose it. I would have nightmares all the time of like having a baby and doing everything that I could to protect it, only to lose it at the end of the dream, and I just like wake up in tears. Um, but I also feel like that sort of timeline is closed out, and it's not for me to fear anymore. I don't know. I don't know, Eve. Basically, long story short, kind of, sort of now. Technically, yes, I guess. And I had it like I recorded these. First of all, I recorded it on my Surface, and then I backed it up to a flash drive. I had to replace my Surface, and the flash drive is missing. So where some of that stuff is, I don't even know. Let's see. Since you've been drawn to studying the Tolkien, yeah, I think I saw it mentioned, but I don't think it was in a Pisces or a Taurus video. I think I was almost like, oh, I can watch this, but and then maybe I was on vacation. I don't remember. But I feel like wait, no, maybe you did mention it and I saw it. I don't know. Oh, snap. Oh, it was in the Virgo. Excuse me. Oh, snap. I've been interested. I guess I would just have to find somebody that I trust. Yeah. Just to like know, right? But I also maybe it's like I don't know. I've been interested. It's like I wonder like if anything awesome comes out. And then if like what comes out is what like I already know, then I would be like, oh well, I already knew that. I could have saved the money. Just yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I would get it done with anybody else, honestly. There are a lot of things that I would go to other people for. But when it comes to like past lives or like giving someone permission to like go into my records or whatever, I don't know. I don't know who I would do it with. Honestly, I feel like it would probably be something that I'd rather grow into the space of like being able to do for myself. Um, but also at the same time, I don't think it would necessarily be helpful. Like honestly, there was a point in time last year when I felt like I was consciously trying to avoid past life karma or past life cycles that had come up and the stuff that I had done. And just like That's So Raven, things happened anyway. And I was like, what? Like I thought I was trying to not repeat this cycle. But from where I am, I feel like there isn't a lot of stuff in a past life that would be beneficial for where I'm going now or for what I'm working on now. And honestly, it's like I don't need to hear that in a past life I was some healer or some priest or some whatever, because it's a lot of stuff that I'm not necessarily trying to do in this lifetime. So, yeah. Excuse me. Oh, wow. Yeah, and like I understand that. And I feel like I got the ones that I would um need to heal the most, if that makes sense. Like I feel like in the space of that reading, I got enough context to like know how I want to navigate my life in a more healed way now, which is basically just being open and vulnerable to the things that I have like resistance to. Um, you know, I do that because there's still some things I have resistance to, but it's like I'm not see, I just like I just pray that my journey doesn't take me into some of those spaces that I don't want to be in. And again, I'm like, I would love to develop those skills and those gifts and abilities, but I do not want to have to use them. So you don't care how many times you oh, it's almost time for me to go to sleep. Yeah. Apparently you farmed a lot. Like I am curious for like curiosity's sake, but yeah. I feel like for the things that I need to know in this lifetime, I'll be made aware of. For me personally. But I do like again, it's like I understand that because there are like some fears that I have. Oh my gosh, surrounding fire and water, and then I get Vishnu and Kali that's like fireproof and waterproof. I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Those are fears that I don't have to worry about anymore. I was like, what? Because like fire is one of the things where I'm like, oof, and then water is another thing. And I was like, oof, yeah, that makes sense. I feel like if I was doing it though, I would be. See, I would be the type of person that's like, I wonder if I was like Caesar or something in a past life. um, because that's just who I am. I need to hear how special I am sometimes, and then other times I don't. But sometimes I'm like, maybe it would just like it would feed my ego so much that it's better for me to not know. Yeah, that's what I'm going with. Excuse me. But I also like I feel like a lot of times because healing is so important that I feel like for the sake and for the purpose of healing, it's more relevant in our journey and in our progression in this lifetime to hear about lifetimes where it didn't work out in, to hear about lifetimes where it was particularly rough, to the point where it may be like, depending, right? You may think that the majority of your past lives are like terrible. And it's like, well, maybe that's because the good ones aren't necessarily as relevant to whatever you're healing and going through. I don't know. It's something that I would like. It'd be cool to have the opportunity, but now I'm like, would I actually do it? If it were with the right person, I would. Honestly, I could think of a handful of people who, if they were like, hey, like, I'm working on reading records, doing QHHT, past life regression, whatever. There's a handful of people I was like, "Oh, yeah, I'm, like, definitely down. Like, read me, take me back, please." But for most people, like, nah. Oh, wow. Excuse me. And I think that, like, for me, like, my North Node, Sagittarius, Chiron, and Leo, from, like, what I did get about the past lives, it's like, "Oh, it makes sense there." So I could just do that. It's one of those things, like, it's just, like, I see the value in it. I think it's really cool. I think it would be very interesting, but for me, I probably wouldn't do it just because it's not, like, but again, like, so if anybody is watching this and you are one of the select few people that I would regress under, um, and you eventually do it, like, hit me up. And if you're not one of those people, don't even ask because I'm going to hit you with a no and then it's going to be awkward. Or it won't be awkward because you're going to respect my boundaries, right? So it'll be fine. Uh, anyway, I think that's it. Oh, I'm starting to get hungry. I feel it. I feel the hunger. But it's almost bedtime, so I'm gonna just go to sleep. Or I might not. I was supposed to like watch anime with my brother, but here I am, like almost 2 hours later. So does anybody have excuse me. Does anybody have like any questions for me? I wouldn't think so. But if there are no questions, then I'll just shut this down here. Oh, that makes sense. One time though, like my dream space it's always been super weird. I remember one time I had a dream that I was with somebody and I literally watched like my mom grow up. Like there were these different like points in her life where I observed her. And again, I'm like, it's a dream. So, I wasn't like, hey mom, did this happen to you when you were a little girl? Cause, some angel showed me in a dream last night. I do remember that one angel though. From the mountain. Mimi, you know about that dream. When I had the dream about being on the mountain, and they were like, okay, so you're going to deliver these messages. I was like, okay, so you're going to tell me how? And the angel just like watched me. And I was like, okay, well, then these messages are just going to go right off the mountain. If you're not going to tell me how to do this, then I'm not going to do it. And that angel oh, probably had that little clipboard. Like, I was just like, yep, nope, I'm not doing it. See that's also some of the stuff that I needed to grow out of. So there's a lot, but yeah. All right. So you finished Fate Stay Night. Oh, nice. All right, Fate Stay Night, Heaven's Feel. Excuse me. I'm gonna go to bed now. Probably not actually. I just got my fire stick cooked up, so I'm gonna look for Ragnarok. And I told my brother that I would watch some anime, but I can't watch anime on an empty stomach. Maybe I can't. Can I watch movies on an empty stomach? I've never tried to like watch a show and not snack on stuff. So maybe I shouldn't do that either. Because I can't snack on anything right now. All right. It was fun. If you took anything out of this, actually, there is something that I wanted to do, and I'm going to do it. because my head doesn't hurt enough and I'm not hungry enough. I am gonna run to the restroom again though because I've been drinking a lot of water. This is the one thing I don't like about drinking water. Like, if I could design a humanity 2.0, I would just eliminate the need to go to the bathroom. You don't have to pee anymore. You don't have to poop anymore. The waste in your body just magically disappears. Okay, no problem. I'll be right back. Yeah, it hasn't been like 5 hours yet, so can't end the video this early, can I? Were you really? I've watched to the part where he goes to school and he's about to sit by that one girl, and then I didn't go to the bathroom because somebody was already in there. So, you know, I was like, it's fine. I got to the part where he went to school and he was about to sit down by that one girl, but then his brother like hurried up and took that seat. I was like, oh, and they were exchanging eyes and everything. In the first episode, I was like, oh wow, wow. If there's one thing that I've learned from that show is to not help elderly folks or strangers. I'm just playing. I'm kidding. It is interesting though, because this is way too high. Oh, y'all see all that? 99% of those boxes back there are my mother's. Not to put her out there like that, not to throw her under the bus. Hello? Oh, that was a lot. Yeah, I could tell. I could tell, Eve. So I have the year two angel cards. And because I was thinking of these aspects, right? This new aspect, the old aspect, the higher self, all of this stuff. I want to see what comes out in between the two Bezaliel angels of shadow. Ooh, excuse me. Yeah, I'm like, if you judge me for my messy room, then that's fair, because I could have cleaned it. I'm not too concerned. I probably should be, but okay. I want to see what's in between the two Bezaliels to give a little bit of context. Oh, stay on the table. Stay on the table. I don't know how many cards are supposed to be in this deck, so I can't just count them. Where's my phone? Here it is. I already dropped some of these cards the other day. Goodness. No, I know this card is down here somewhere. Don't be. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Ew, this is gross. Where is it? I heard it hit the bag on the way down. Did it go inside of the bag? Who playing with me? Hello? Hello? I guess. I guess this card is going to be gone. Because it's not appearing. I'm like 99% sure a card fell onto the floor, but maybe not. I'm fairly certain it did. I'm gonna have to get down here and look for it. Goodness. Okay. I was gonna say this better not be Michael, but Michael isn't in this deck, so I'll be right back. It's fine. What do y'all see? I'll just leave this up. I'll just leave it up. You can look at Saturn. All right. Oh, no twinkling stars tonight. Probably got to use that other light. So I found the card. It was Zachiel, Angel of Purity. Angel of Purity was hiding, fell on the floor. Angel of Purity and the Angel of Visions. I'm gonna have to. Hey Siri, turn on lamp.
Okay, the lamp
There
is
you go.
on.
It's still hot pink. Hey Siri, turn lamp white.
White.
There you go.
Coming right up.
So we have the Angel of Purity and the Angel of Visions. Oh, goodness, this Angel of Purity. Now it's in reverse. First it was on the floor, then it was in reverse. When Zachiel's actions resulted in death, there was no remorse. To him, there was no consequential difference between the death of a child and the harvest of a stalk of wheat. Zachiel was a valuable teacher in the realm of medicine, but his demeanor scared people. When he talked about living things, it was clear that he didn't see them for what they were, but rather what they were made of blood and bone. That's interesting. Oh gosh, this is not what I wanted to do, but it's fine. Oh snap! Yeah, when did I hear about Enoch? Maybe that same class when I learned about the Nicene Council. I was like, what? It's like, yeah, girl, the Nicene Council. Some people got together to decide which books of the Bible would be canon. I was like, what? And that's why it's like if you find an old Ethiopian Bible or something, they'll have some of the books of the Bible that were omitted from, the King James Version, the New International Version, and things like that. I was like, that's interesting. That's very telling, Hierophant. That's very telling. Okay. So this one goes with this one. This one goes here. Because this one wanted to be in reverse so bad. The four of spades in reverse, an arrow that swims through the air, forced pliability, a fixed vision in a volatile space. And then inspiring others by bold example, proper magnetism and clear intention, clearing of the fog. Clearing of the fog with Remiel, that's footsteps fall upon boundless hills, stretching one by one across the landscape, our journey. See not the darkened slopes that present themselves today. There is light upon the farther side guiding us onward. There's something here that is it's dismissive of life. And that's one of the things that needs to change in order for us to reach the light on the other side, potentially. Bottom of the deck is an accurate depiction, a true to life tale, liquid light that carves its way through night. So, yeah, there's that clearing of the fog. There's liquid light that carves its way through night. There's an energy of channels. Really? I want to I've been interested in it, but again, that's one of the things that I've seen that's like, oh, that's interesting. And then I was like, don't have the time. um, circuitry, that's what it is. Okay. Liquid light that carves its way through night. It's this energy of, it's like a chip. It's like a circuit. It's like we're carving these paths for something to flow through, creating conduits, creating channels that will power something. And for what we want, for where we're going, there are new channels that need to be made. Because the old channels they don't put out enough power to support what it is that we're coming into. Okay. That energy came up last year. I think it was in the first or second weekly release. The energy of creating channels for new energies to flow through. It's like we're filling certain trenches and we're creating other channels. What? Oh gosh. Oh yeah, Angel of the Mists. Here's Chazakiel, Angel of the Mists. Chazakiel cowered away from the idea of leaving his home in the sky. His indecision left him to exist in a place between worlds. It was uncomfortable, but he lived without having to face the reality of what he really was. When the fighting broke out, Chazakiel didn't take sides. This did not sit well with his brothers, but he could not give in to commitment. It was his nature. He was meant to be alone. Who is this? The energy that we send out is the energy that we receive. The future is born in the heart. This isn't what I've wanted to do, but that's fine. Turiel just keeps popping up at the top of this deck. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I'm not even going to read all these. I feel like in some ways the veil is coming down. That's the new energy. That's what we're creating the channels for. It's almost like it's hydroelectrically powered or it's hydraulically powered. And it's like this heavy metal shutter. And right now, there's not enough flowing water to power the thing to raise the shutter. And so, what we have to do is we have to irrigate, we have to bring more water to wherever this place is. And once we do that, then it feels like the veil will thin. I'm not going to say it's going to be completely absent, even though it kind of sort of feels like, I don't know. It's going to be thinning in a way that it's like we're really going to have to learn to work with the divine in a more consistent way, a more cohesive way. And it feels like it's individual. What? The Angel of Mists. It feels like since he didn't take a side, since he was literally stuck in the middle when the heavens split from the earth, that the veil that separates us is the home of this angel. From his position, he can see us more accurately. I don't know if the veil distorts things on both sides. I don't know. Right? That's why God had to send Jesus to find out what it's actually like on this side. Right? This reminds me of maybe it was the thing that came out on the other channel. Again, this energy is here again. It's an energy of being watched. It's an energy of being observed. It's an energy of trying to see if we have integrity. The easiest way to say it, the most concise way, we're being observed to see if we have integrity. And if we are found to have a certain amount, then the relationship will deepen, evolve, change, the veil will thin. But it's important It's like it's important that we don't have any repeats of what happened the last time type of energy. Languishing aloft, the master of dreams rests in repose. Among the stars it makes its nest. Swathed in silver and gold, an untold truth is to be spoken aloud, lost to the chiming of a bell. Duma, angel of dreams. Rimph, angel of time. The flame that cracks its skin is the same as the fire from within, in alabaster form, folded like the steel of a sword, always pressing onward, the sharp beat of its heels grinding the past into dust. Grinding the past into dust. At the bottom of the deck is Armoros, the angel of undoing. Here's the angel of undoing. Here is the angel of time, who is grinding this undoing into dust. And it's funny that I started this by saying it feels like that rewriting is going to be starting. Because what I saw after I heard Allow the World to be Rewritten, I saw when I came back. It does. What's interesting though, it's interesting that like Duma is bleeding over into this space. It's interesting that like this message is here in this space more and more. But Pinamue still hasn't come out over here. On the other channel, it's like every time I use this deck, Pinamue comes out, but it's the Pinamue that carries the light in the graveyard, and nobody knows why. Over here, I always get the Pinamue that's like, what hath been wrought on that fiery hilltop, the sculptures of men whose names the angels forgot. The cards that came out, the energy that we send out is the energy that we receive. The future is born in the heart. A school of glimmering fish spotlight a sunken treasure, the rising of a new continent, embodying hope, a fount of truth, a tongue of light, a strong will, and an open heart, all things taken into account. That all things taken into account, that's why the angel of purity kept falling out in reverse. Because it's like before, like he wasn't able to differentiate the loss of a child and the loss of an ear of corn. Because it's all life. Nothing makes one life more sort of whatever than another life. Doesn't matter if it's a plant, an animal, or a person. They're all the same. And again, that observer is here again. Is it Thogan? Is it the energy of Thogan? The silent Valkyrie? That Page of Cups, Queen of Cups energy. So am I going to do what it is that I wanted to do or not? Turiel, Angel of the Mountain. It feels like Turiel is still hesitant. I press my body closer to that which I must keep. It is mine and I will shield it from the misery of other hands. I can feel their gaze fall on it like an avalanche. Their greed feeds my conviction, so here I remain. Turiel, this was the same angel who was like boasting his stature and his abilities, and it said that it almost seemed like he was sustained by praise almost as much as food and water. But now, again, it's like it's because of what happened to Barakiel and Satariel that now he's like, oh, well, if they want it too much, they might actually try to turn their blades on me to get it. It's like, oh, like man wouldn't turn against the angels, man wouldn't turn against the gods because it's covetous of their power. Okay. Not this Age of Aquarius, man. Cambiel. The process of creation requires us to draw something from within and bring it out into the world. Aries. Hamaliel, Angel of Virgo. We got Virgo, Aries, and Aquarius. I almost read this. This card was under Turiel, and Mimi just mentioned that Tzolk'in came out in Eve's Everlong Mystics Virgo reading. And each person hides a gift that they have yet to give to the world. Untapped potential rises just below the surface and is withheld until the moment is right. This reservoir of energy stands in wait, holding a very special sort of power through its hidden nature. Hamalyle embodies that secret wellspring that flows from all of us. Again, that's that Kraken and Leviathan energy. That's the 9 and 10 of Cups in the Spencer's Tarot. Every time I use those cards now, the 9 and the 10 of Cups come out. The Army of Lovers Cannot Stand? Lovers card or a different one? Oh, the Succubus. Was it the Succubus? I don't know. Which lovers? This also reminds me, it's in one of Reem's videos. She talked about, I think it was Reem. It could have been Santero. It was somebody. Talked about how there are these reserves of strength and power that we hold within us that a lot of us don't tap into. And that maybe some of us have tapped into that reserve. I don't remember anything else or what the context of that was. This angel talks about, I'll just read it. The moment before we act, there must be an impulse to begin. Sometimes this force comes from our own will, and sometimes it seems to arise from nothing. From the abyss, Malahidiel emerges, bringing with it the strength to enact change. Untapped potential, strength rising from an abyss to enact change. And then, the angel of Aquarius herself. Yeah, that was in the Mystical Dreams Tarot, because it was upside down and it looked like it was being pulled off of the body. I remember now. And now that I think about it, I've seen the lovers quite frequently lately. To enrich those around us, we sacrifice a little piece of ourselves, pouring out our hearts in the hope that another vessel will take a drop of it with them. I was going to get one card for each of these, but I'll just get one for the collective group. Yeah, whatever individual and collective we're manifesting for the age of Aquarius, it's like it's born now, or it's in the process of being birthed now, in the process of being uncovered. Good night, D. There's something about creating these new channels or conduits or something that can conduct more power than before. This card is in reverse again, the Four of Spades. An arrow that swims through the air, forced pliability, a fixed vision in a volatile space. Operating as a unified whole, living the example, and a heart that shines from the depths of the soul. This is talking about all the things that weren't taken into consideration before. It's almost like, and then I have the angel of anger sort of staring at me at the top of this deck. It's almost like maybe there were times before where we would have been this close, but we weren't recognized. Because it was in word only. That's why the word doesn't hold a lot of weight right now. That's why actions and deeds are so important. That's why observers are here, observing. Even those sort of hidden spaces with this angel of dreams. What would you do with it? And again, it reminds me of those one dreams where it's like, I have like a certain gift or power or ability and I'm doing stuff. And then someone's like, now do this. And I'm like, ew, no, like, why are you so weird? Like, why are you asking me to do weird things? Like, my gifts aren't for this. Like, when we all started, this was fun, right? We were doing something collectively, we were making a change, but now it's like we're doing this for the sake of what? Like, no, this isn't what I signed up for. This is not what my gifts are for. My gifts aren't here to make you rich or whatever. It's not here to take from other people. It's not here to. It reminds me of what came out in one of those Akashic readings I did, where it's like my gifts are not to hurt, harm, or misguide. It's not for any of that. And it seems like there are so many, not so many. In the dreams, it's like there were those who would kind of sort of like push me into that. I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. This is weird. I'm going home. Y'all can figure the rest out on your own. I'm not doing this. Which is exactly why, like, I wanted to shut down the water park in that one dream because of weird people. I'm like, no, like, ew, this is gross. A complete set of instructions, a stubborn moth reborn as a firefly, and a successful trip. Whatever it is for us to encounter and not encounter, for whatever it is for us to accomplish in this life, that successful trip energy feels like it's going to be done. Like, we're going to do it. Follow that which pulls from the depths right now. You don't have to know why. You don't have to know where it's leading you. It's taking you somewhere. And as long as it's not weird, then trust it. Somebody is observing something right now. And according to Rob, the Valkyries will be here in a few months. And one of them already made an appearance, the silent one, the one that we more often than not project onto. So I was going to do something else, but I guess that's not going to happen tonight. That's fine. I don't know why this is like this message keeps coming out. And it's like, I pull cards every day. So it's not surprising that the same thing would come out for multiple days. But it feels like at the end of the day, it's these very sort of similar messages. I just saw Penamue. I was looking at the deck. I saw him. I saw him again. Let's see if he'll fall out. Final message, please. Can I get one last card? Oh, look, there he is. There he is. I told you, I keep seeing him. I don't know if he'll come out, but I keep seeing flashes of him. I'll close my eyes. There's that energy of convergence again. Or like grounding? Integration, convergence, and grounding. And again, it's like it sets the stage for something new. There we go. Oh, gosh. Not you. Not you. Ugh. Bottom of the deck is Rimph, Angel of Time. Followed by Rimph, Angel of Time. The Angel of Time appeared twice. With the Angel of Storms under it. The ocean, with the Angel of Storms, talking about the ocean. The ocean pulsed, pushed onward beat by beat, marching forward. They die up on the beach. And with each stroke, the sand pools upon the stones, polishing faces smooth. The flame that cracks its skin is the same as the fire from within. An alabaster form, folded like the steel of a sword, always pressing onward, the sharp beat of its heels grinding the past into dust. As the sun began to set, the boats turned. This one connects to, so um, Penamue would be the observer. That makes sense. Teasing us. This one is connected to the first one, talking about the ocean. As the sun began to set, the boats turned to back towards the shore. All the while, Ananias pleaded with them to stay. Ignoring him, the fishermen held to their course. Angered, the angel summoned the waves to do what his words could not. He wrenched their boats from their destination and pulled them until the land was lost to the horizon. In life, these first seafarers had been his acolytes. In death, they were their own men. And it's like any of them that made it back to land, they were dead on arrival. They washed up on the beach, faces polished smooth, to the point where he couldn't even recognize them anymore. And the line that sticks out to me on this one, the flame that cracks its skin is the same as the fire from within. You can tell on the outside what the inside of a person looks like. Who is this? What? Sandalphon is here. I didn't even. What? Okay, so we'll read Sandalphon last. Eighth, Angel of Anger. Eighth was not gifted with great strength, stature, or wisdom, but his resolve was unshakable. His power was to fight with his heart. He took to the training ground every day, outlasting all who joined him. The struggle was his fuel. He was a cruel teacher, but the results of his mentorship convinced people to tolerate him for a while. It wasn't the first death on the training ground that caused people to turn their backs on him, but there was something about the sight of that little girl's lifeless body. That little girl's lifeless body reminds me of the angel of purity and how it didn't matter to him. Like the loss of an ear of corn was no different than the loss of a child. So there's something about the angel of anger and the angel of purity that are sitting in very similar spaces. I mean, that's the state of the heart of humanity, or that's how I read it. Sound of fun though, angel of new life. See, this is the good stuff. Upon fertile ground, life stirs and stars. Called from the shores, our children come home. The beginning of a new life. Farewell to the old one. I don't think I've ever gotten this. Maybe I have. This is interesting because we talked about the loss of children. So the men, it's like the adults perished in the storm, and they didn't do they didn't do right by the children either. But in this angel of new life, the children are coming back. It's like the Pied Piper of Hamlin, and it's like he drowned the children. The children couldn't resist the sound of his pipe. But it's like if he returned the children to the water. It's almost like the Pied Piper would go around to these villages where the children were being mistreated, and he would rescue the children. He would return them to the womb. But also, it brings out the energy of Rahab, the angel of the deep, because we would see it as a loss. Rahab would see it as the return. Pied Piper energy came out one time before. I have literally no clue where or when, but I remember. see. This is interesting. Oh, because look, this is the bottom of the deck now. On the other side of Rahab, because I'm looking at it this way, is the trumpet. The angel is blowing the trumpet. So Rahab is here. Rahab ferried the bodies of the dead into the sea. His promise to mankind was to bring them to a place where they would never be disturbed. They prayed that the abyss would give the dead peace. No one could know for sure except the grim watcher. The passage into darkness was a place of no return. It was his home and his alone. That is its nature. With the horn and the angel of Libra, Zuriel. All things have opposing forces. The rotations of the celestial bodies show us a macrocosm of our own swirling internal relationships. Zuriel is the regulator of these forces, weighing their value and attempting to find balance. What this is, it's like that which makes us even more divine is separate from us. And maybe those are the lost soul fragments that we're in the space of finding right now, potentially. It's connected to something more than just itself. Remember, that's what Reem said. I'm just not kidding. But that's what it feels like. It feels like these children, it's like the space of the inner child. It's the power of the creator that lies within us. And it was taken for good reason. It was taken and it was hidden somewhere that we would never find it. And again, it's that key. It's the key of shadows that Thogan tells us to create, to unlock the door, to release it. And it's interesting because that's why I was like, I was so afraid of like my darkness and like anger and what it does to me that now it turns out that what returned was an aspect of light, which isn't surprising because this is what I've been learning to handle and manage as I've been, dipping into my North Node Sagittarius a little bit more, healing that Chiron and Leo a little bit more, activating that Grand Fire trine in my chart. It reveals light. And again, what was that? The Sandalphon, the beginning of a new life, farewell to the old one. This is the old life. The angel of anger is the old life. And again, this angel of Libra is the one that's sort of watching how it's like what we would do. It's this macrocosmic, microcosmic sort of thing. What we would do, how we would treat people in a microcosmic way is indicative of those same sort of dynamics in a macrocosmic way, which is again this energy. The flame that cracks its skin is the same as the fire from within. You can tell from its skin the quality of its soul. You can tell from surface level. You can tell with how it interacts on the 3D with other people in the 3D, the quality of its soul. And it's so interesting. I just heard somebody talk about, and again, I know that I experience the things, I have to constantly remind myself of this. I know that I experience the things that I'm meant to experience to get me to see what I need to see. But it's so interesting to me that it's like, I feel like I heard someone in one breath talk about how a certain energy isn't about making the voices of victims heard, but in the same breath, we're being drawn closer and closer to unconditional love. And I guess it's this question for me of like, So, does unconditional love have no space for the downtrodden, for the oppressed? Does unconditional love continue to ignore them? Because again, it's like I listen to it and it's like, this is why you can't find Jesus in the church anymore. And that energy came out, what was it, earlier today or yesterday? That if he came back, there would be so many people who would call themselves Christian or religious who he would not recognize because they've gone so far from the teaching. And it's interesting. It's this energy of, it's like you can tell the true character of a person by how they treat waiters and waitresses, how they treat wait staff, how they treat service staff, how they treat people who can't do anything for them. They'll work so hard to impress the angels that they'll literally spit on the angels that reside here in disguise or the people down here. All of it is observed, which is why those children are locked safe in a space where we can't reach them beyond the veil. But we got this energy. So goodbye, all of that. Yeah. This is not what I wanted. This, I mean, not that I'm complaining, but when I picked up these cards, it's like, it's not, this is not where I thought this was going to go, which is fine. Because, like I said, that little angel on the mountain or that big angel on the mountain doesn't have to sit and watch me just throw messages. Just let them just fall off. Fanuel, angel of truth. Barbiel, angel of Scorpio. I'll read both of them. These are the cards, and Azazel, angel of sacrifices. These are the cards that's behind the angel. Phanuel, angel of truth. This most patient attendant will wait for your arrival. Phanuel has been there long before you arrived, standing in the gateway to the throne. You may not have seen it, you may not have heard it, but Phanuel waited there for you, to wrap you in its warm cloak. Seek it, and you shall find it. There are times when words fail and action must be taken. When trials beset our lives and no other course of action is available, we have to fight. Loving in the easy times and harsh when the world demands it. Barbiel is our sword against the darkness. It is our power to strike back when necessary. What's interesting is that at the top of next year, the South Node is going to move into Scorpio. See, the Sagittarius Gemini polarity is all about us basically reconditioning and retraining our minds. It's saying that it's looking like, and again, it kind of sort of came out when the nodes shift in Taurus into Taurus and Scorpio, is going to be a time of action. And for a lot, there's a lot of people who say a lot of pretty words, but when it comes time to action, when it comes time to act, they're absent. They're not there. And it's like, where were you? Where were you? You get what you get and don't throw a fit. I remember that other dream too. When I was like, don't be mad at me that y'all weren't doing what y'all were supposed to be doing. Hello? Y'all could have been up on this stage just like I'm up on this stage. And then I proceeded to let the messages just fall off the mountain. Yeah. And the funny thing, like I saw somebody recently again. They're like, we're in the space of like connecting to our heart. We're learning how to connect to our heart. And I'm like, learning how to connect to your heart, that was North Node in Cancer, South Node Capricorn. Like we should have that by now. We should be connected to our heart enough that now we see the things that we weren't seeing before. So it's producing also this change up here. The change in here should have already occurred 20 what 18 no 2019 to 2020, I think. And it's funny because I think it was early May that the node shifted into Gemini, and then a lot of human rights stuff started popping up at the end of May. And it's like, well, we should have already been connected to our heart by then. See, that's the reason why I don't like how we follow astrology. And maybe it's just me. I will put that disclaimer out there. But for me, it feels like by the time we're talking about things that we should be doing, the transits have already passed. Like, we're how deep into North Node and Gemini, talking about connecting to the heart and finding the heart. And it's like, that was like North Node and Cancer. Like, we should already be there. Everything is like, it's so behind. And then we wonder why we repeat the same transits over and over. And I'm not going to go all the way there. But I'm like, wow, like, really? Like, I'm still hearing this? Maybe I just need to watch different people. And it wasn't anybody that I found recently, which could be telling in certain ways or not. That's too much. This one came out. This one's on the top, and it's the 2 and the 3 of. I'm not gonna look at the. Okay, I'll look at this one because I already read it, but I'm not gonna look at the other ones. I'm gonna read all of them. That's not me. I read all of them. So we got the 2 and the 3 of clubs, the 6 of hearts, the 2 of spades, jack of spades, and then the 3 of swords are the 3 of hearts and the 3 of spades. 3 of swords, 3 of cups energy. Love that. 3 of swords came out. Look at this. Look at this. 3 of spades with the king of spades at the top of the deck. 3 of swords and the king of swords literally came out like yesterday in the Pride Tarot. Literally. Yeah, I'm like, there's nothing like bad about astrology or like anything. I'm just like we should already know this. Like, we should have already done this. Like, why are we doing this now? And it's funny because I watched somebody earlier, and she was like, if you're already like, she was like, if you're feeling this, then you've probably already done it. It's just like, as a collective of humans, we can do better. But that's what we're in the space of, right? So, embodying hope, a fount of truth, a tongue of light, 2 of clubs, on the cusp of realization, a shared vision, and a quickening, 3 of clubs, 6 of hearts, maximizing or minimizing, limitation or support, look to the root. 2 of spades, a displacement replaced, unintended and unforeseen consequences, and a need for wisdom, which was that page of swords, a need for wisdom. That's why the owl was on that. And I was like, justice is watching. The eyes of justice are sitting at the bottom of the deck. Justice is watching, seeing how, and it's literally Libra, girl. Where are you? Hello? Hello, where are you? I need you back here. I'm calling you back to the stage. It's literally this energy. There's like this observer energy is coming out so much. So much. The eyes of justice are watching, seeing how you sort of balance out situations and scenarios in your own life before she hands over that sword. The beginnings of self-realization. This is here on the cusp of realization at the Three of Wands. The beginnings of self-realization, caring for one's mental space and preparing to welcome something big. Preparing to welcome something big with a displacement replaced. With the return of those children, right? Where is he? Where is Sukloff? Sandalfine, sorry. Oh, I just bent my cards a little bit. Sandalfine, right here, right? Upon fertile ground, life stirs and stars, called from the shores, our children come home. The beginnings of a new life, farewell to the old one. The beginnings of self realization, preparing to welcome something big, that displacement replaced. A complete restructuring of home, a breathtaking sight that redefines beauty and allowing one's soul to breathe. Three of Spades. Three of Hearts, where form and function align, the power of words to brighten and terraform. I need to speak better over the collective. I know we'll get it. I honestly, truly, genuinely, wholeheartedly believe that we will. And it's my belief that things can transpire a lot quicker than we would think that they will. The King of Spades, inspiring others by bold example, proper magnetism and clear intention, clearing of the fog. It's gorgeous energy. Yeah. And it's interesting because I feel like we can be so caught up in like love and light and doing the high vibrational thing or whatever. Again, it's like you would treat other people so well, but when it comes to service and wait staff, you almost act like they're non existent type of energy. 40 is here twice. Is 93 here twice? Also, it's like the two of clubs, the three of clubs, the two of spades, the three of spades. We have the six of hearts and the three of hearts. So we're progressing in the suit of wands. We're progressing in the suit of swords, but we're having in the suit of cups. And all of the progression and all of the advancements that humanity has made, it's like its heart has gotten smaller and smaller and smaller. It's gotten more and more and more closed off because it's so focused with itself to the point where it doesn't concern itself with how it affects others. But again, it's in a space of changing. Usually, I like to get like one card for my final message, and I would shuffle again because it's too many cards, but I'm going to leave it here today. And it's not that like, well, I guess this card said it the best. It was the Angel of Scorpio. Where is the Angel of Scorpio? I'm actually going to shuffle these. There's too many cards. I'm going to shuffle it. There are times when words fail and action must be taken. When trials beset our lives and no other course of action is available, we have to fight. The nature of this sign is to be an ally, loving in easy times and harsh when the world demands it. Braviel is our sword against the darkness. It is our power to strike back when necessary. I feel like it can be love and light 24/7. It's like in a divine sense, it's love and light 24/7, but like what that looks like down here isn't necessarily what we say of love and light 24/7, which I'm sure you understand, but it was worth saying, I guess. Because there are times when we can fight out of love. There are times when we can erect boundaries and barriers out of love. There are times when we can be harsh out of love. Let a Sagittarius teach you that. Or a Virgo. Or a Gemini. Or anybody except Pisces. You know. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Or Capricorn. That's why low key I'm intimidated by Capricornian energies because I'm like, my life is not together, and I don't want some Capricorn to come in and be like, Patrick, what are you doing? Like, you know that this isn't like benefiting you or moving you forward in life. Like, you know that. So what are you doing? I'm like, Capricorn, leave me alone. I've got Taurus in my chart. Let me sleep. I've got Taurus and Pisces in my chart. Let me sleep. Bottom of the deck is the Seven of Spades, taking the plunge into an ice cold tank, dissolution of the self, integration, and separation. My comment with that was that those are some of the energies that it's like it's not afraid to give it to you straight. It's not afraid to give it to you blunt, especially when it cares about you. That's what I meant. No offense to any Sagittariuses or Virgos or Capricorns or Geminis, obviously. Not obviously. No offense. I feel like as a Pisces, sometimes I could be like, see, like, I don't want to like hurt your feelings though. So I'm not going to say this. Like, this is something that I am observing. This is something that I can see that doesn't really benefit you. But I know that you're not really in a space right now where you can take that. So I'm not going to say anything. But who does that serve at the end of the day? You know, there are some signs who will give it to you straight, and that's why we need them. That's why I love those friends who I have who can tell it to me like that, even when I don't necessarily want to hear it. So shout out to my Libra buddy who gives it to me all the time, and I just never want to take it. But it has been my lesson within the past few months to learn to accept it, even when it comes from him. Because more often than not, he's not wrong. I'm like, why are you always trying to pop my little Neptunian bubble? Why are you trying to drag me out of my realm of fantasy? Stop. I'm comfortable here. Anyway, it's a me thing. It does not reflect on any zodiac sign, just me. And I accept that. Material intervention, the coming of spring, mastering the game of life. Here's another 40. That's 40, 40, 40. 40 is death. So there's a lot of transformation here. But transformation, death is an active process. It's not passive, right? You don't say that you're changed. Well, okay, well, the power of words to brighten and terraform did come out. It takes more than just words. There we go. It takes more than just words for things to be transformed. It's words and action, right? Oh, goodness. Ooh, I got one card. Who is it? That's not Penamue. Girl, she's just not coming out. So the Angel of Truth came out. Phanuel, the most patient attendant, will wait for your arrival. Phanuel has been here long before you arrived, standing in the gateway to the throne. You may not have seen it, you may not have heard it, but Phanuel waited there for you, to wrap you in its warm cloak. Seek it, and you shall find it. There's that cloak again. There's a power in the cloak. It's like your power. There's this angel, there's this presence, there's this observer. I don't think Phanuel doesn't observe. Phanuel just waits. Phanuel's like an attendant. It's very Spinel energy from Steven Universe, which is heartbreaking if you know what that means. But it patiently waits. Here in the garden, let's play a game. I'll show you how it's done. And then meanwhile, we go off somewhere and we just act a whole fool, forget all about little Spinel that's just there waiting, waiting and waiting and waiting, happily waiting until it finds out that we're not coming. But we are coming, right? I don't know where this box is. That's what I got. I guess I had to push this out to a full 3 hours because 2.5 hours wasn't long enough. This, again, it's not what I intended when I pulled these cards out, but it's fine. It's fine. Maybe I'll do it for myself. Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll do it on the other channel. Maybe I won't. I probably won't. Because it's one of those things I feel like it's not very helpful right now. I feel like this is a very lived time. Again, if it's about more than just words, it's also about action, is of any indicator. I don't think it'll do us too much good right now. Context is always helpful. I'm going to preface it by saying that context is always helpful, but I don't think it'll do us too much of any good to get the answers right now because it feels like we're in a space of becoming. We're in a space of integration and grounding. Integration and grounding is us actually doing the things that we receive to do, that our intuition guides us to do. Right? It's us actually living in that space to the point where we're changing our habits. Right? That's why I'm only drinking water for 72 hours. And I don't know. I guess I'm curious to know what grounding means. When someone's like, you need to ground yourself. Like what does that entail? Which is why like sometimes I try to be conscious of like not just saying like you need to go out and ground, you need to do this, you need to do that. I try to be a little bit more descriptive because it's one of those things where it's like, okay, well, what does it mean to ground? Like, what does that look like? I need to do shadow work. Okay, well, what's shadow work? I need to, you know, focus on high vibrational things. Well, how do I do that? And it's different for everybody, right? But I think sometimes we can get so sort of caught up in the lingo and so caught up in the words that the actual substance, the actual meaning is a little bit lost. And like if you know, you know. And I don't have to tell you to like go out and ground, right? If you already know how you ground things within yourself, then you can hear go out and ground and then you know what to do, right? If I tell you, hey, you need to do a little bit more shadow work and you know what that entails for you, then you know what to do. And so again, it's like apply it where it fits. That's just a little bit of context as to why I try to go a little bit deeper sometimes, even like knowing that it's different for different people. Because again, in my mind, it's like when I had to integrate and ground all of my healing, it involved me making choices and decisions in real life that were a reflection of that healing more so than past traumas. That's how I grounded it. That's how I worked it into my root chakra by changing the way that I behave and show up in like real life, in my day to day life. So that's what it means for me. I don't know what it means for anybody else. I don't know. So thank you. Thank you. Um, I That's the end of the video. I only got approximately 24 more hours. I'm calling it at midnight tomorrow. I still need to connect to myself. It's like 24 hours and 10 minutes. So you see it as an anchoring kind of thing. Like I see it in that way. I guess for me, it's more like, but it also makes sense because, like I said, I'm not really a nature person, right? So, like going out and sitting under a tree doesn't really like work for me. So it would make sense if it's that's why it's different for me. Which is why, like, when I did that spread, I was like, oh my gosh, like, what? Here's somebody who actually operates. And, like, I can see it in a way. And when I do those spreads, I use the Spirit Keeper's Tarot because for me, it's one of the heaviest hitting decks, most sort of like spirit imbued, I guess, decks. One of the most, like, what? Sometimes decks that I have. And when that came out, I was like, oh, like, these are things that would work for you and your alignment and your elemental dignities, like how you're sort of spiritually, etherically, energetically wired, these are things that work for you. But I'm wired in a different way. So for me, like it wouldn't have the same effect. Not that I don't get anything out of it because I do, but thank you. Thank you. All right. Have a lovely night. No problem. Glad to share, I guess. I'm in a space of sharing right now before I delete this channel and all of my videos on it. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do that. I mean, if I feel so led and so guided, if Spirit tells me, all right, Patrick, it's time to delete the channel and every single video I wanted, then bye bye, channel. Who am I to fight Spirit? I don't think Spirit would say that, but if they did, then, I would delete them. No problem. It's something that we're all in this space of discovering. Excuse me. Like Reem said, like Reem received in the Goddess Isis video, the things that are returning to us on the wings of Isis. The children are marching out of the water. They are returning home. So, yeah. Maybe I'll title this "The Kids Are Returning Home" and a whole bunch of personal stuff that you don't even need to know. I'm going to title that right now. That's the title. The kids are coming home. And MySpaces, colon, a bunch of stuff that you probably don't need to know. Ooh, nice. 99 out of 100 characters. It fits. All right. I'll catch y'all later. Bye.